Yeah, unfortunately for Jay-Z, it's time to have a very hard discussion. A lot of people are claiming that, ever since Diddy got caught up in this case, that Jay-Z's next. And you can't really blame people for looking at Jay-Z kind of weird. You look at the people first off, just the whole Epstein shit. Just look at who he's hanging around with. Like, this nigga's hanging around Diddy, R. Kelly, Harvey Weinstein. Nigga, that's the holy trifecta, right? That's the unholy trifecta. Nigga, that's a nightmare blunt. Imagine sitting there smoking with R. Kelly, Harvey Weinstein, and Diddy. Nigga, you probably not leaving that blunt rotation to be honest. That shit laced with all kinds of shit. And if you do leave, you're leaving with piss. You're leaving with piss in your hair. You're leaving with all kinds of baby oil in your ass. But you might get a movie deal out of that shit. You might leave with a movie deal. So there's that. But yeah, it's not looking too good for Jay Z. Like, what does a nigga like Jay Z hang around Harvey Weinstein for, anyways? Like, I think it's not been in not one movie, and there's nobody who's putting that nigga in not one movie. That nigga's too ugly for that. So I don't know. Maybe he was trying to start his own media production company, make movies or something. I don't know. I've never seen no Jay Z movie, so it's kind of hard to tell. I don't know what the nigga's doing, hanging out with Harvey Weinstein. Nigga, I'm just guessing it's for recreational purposes. And we all know how them niggas get down, so I'm just saying. But there's a lot of this, Jay Z's kind of got like this dark history, if we're going to be honest. So I kind of want to go through it and why I think Jay Z's kind of a weirdo. So there's a lot of places to start. I'm gonna start with Foxy Brown. Jay Z met Foxy Brown in 1995 when she was like 15 years old. Now I'm gonna tell you this right now. Jay Z's an old ass nigga, bro. When the year 2000 was coming to fruition, this nigga was about 30 years old, or just turning 30 years old. Let that sink in with you. A lot of y'all niggas weren't even born in the before the year 2000. Most of y'all niggas is 2000 babies. Some of y'all probably 2010 babies. A lot of y'all niggas can't even comprehend how old this individual is. No disrespect to him, but I'm just letting you know. Just to put this into context, because you have to understand, in 1995 Foxy Brown was like 15, and he discovers her at this I guess talent contest or whatever. I don't know. She's rapping at a talent contest. This nigga Jay Z wants to be like Biggie or something. You know how Biggie had Lil Kim and he was writing shit for her. So I guess that was what he was trying to do with Foxy Brown. Now a lot of people sit there and say Jay Z and Foxy Brown have this inappropriate relationship. Foxy Brown denies it. Uh, Jay Z, I don't know if he's ever addressed it, but I'm gonna sit here and explain why I think Jay Z definitely was cracking Foxy Brown. Okay, so in 1996, Foxy Brown would release her first album. She has a song on the album. She has a lot of songs, but she has a song on the album that was written like by Jay Z. Foxy Brown has no credits, no writing credits on this record. All be by by her and Jay Z. So, and this song is very sexual song recorded by a 17-year-old. Released when she was 17, recorded when she was 17, maybe recorded when she was 16. I don't know. Very sexual records that they're making this woman rap. You get what I'm saying? And Jay Z's also on the record. So it's very kind of a weird thing to look at. And also, you have Nas on Ether. One of his disses to Jay Z is, you know, you keep your head in Foxy's what. So again, this is kind of a lot of people alluding to an inappropriate relationship between the two. She's also featured on Jay Z's very first album, one of his more critically acclaimed albums, Reasonable Doubt, on a song called Ain't No Nigga, where the hook is pretty much Ain't No Nigga like the one I got. Ain't nobody fuck you better. A crazy hook to have like a 17-year-old sing on, of your deep on your record, but it is what it is. This is 1996. The the world's kind of a little bit different. Culture's a little bit different. Niggas are a little bit different. We don't like to talk about this, but in the hood, Like, older niggas messing around with the younger women it wasn't this rare occurrence. I'll just say that. You talk to a lot of the older niggas, bro. They all have stories about, the older niggas who done been graduated, coming back to school, niggas in their like 20s, picking up, the high school chicks or whatever. Yeah, I don't know if that shit probably doesn't really happen today because, niggas niggas is really aware of that kind of stuff. But back in the day, that shit, everybody has stories about that type of shit. So it's like I'm saying, like, we try to act like this shit don't be happening. It do. R. Kelly's not the only. R. Kelly wasn't the first and the last person to be doing that kind of weirdo type shit. But that's not like the only weird lyrics from in regards to Foxy Brown. But I'm gonna try to keep it moving. So also you have like the Dame Dash and Nick Cannon interview where Dame Dash gets really defensive when Nick Cannon simply asks him, what age was Foxy Brown when she got signed?
At what age was Foxy Brown signed?
No, I wasn't paying attention to Foxy Brown.
Yeah, but I
didn't sign Foxy Brown.
I know you. I'm just asking a question.
Because I'm on the block. I'm responsible for everybody.
You the boss. I'm just asking a question.
I don't know. My name is Cousin Bennett, and I ain't in it.
Oh, now you ain't in it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just saying.
I promise you.
I thought Foxy was like 16. That's all I'm saying.
Did I sign her? It sounds like
all I'm saying is in this industry when we live in these glass houses.
It seems like you got a question for Jay. Ask him. When you say that Foxy was 16 when she got signed, why did you say that just now? Just curious.
When I first was introduced to who Foxy was, I thought there was something between Foxy and Jay.
Oh, yeah, Jay. But that's the question you're trying to ask me.
Oh, I would say because you was there. I only can ask the people. You my man. We close. You was there. That's all I was asking.
It would be so out of my character to speak on another man's business.
So we not gonna do that because we don't want you to speak out of character.
Now I'll go ahead and answer that. She was like 14, 15, probably 15. When a lot of these records were recorded, she was 15 to 17. If you check, when these records, the Reasonable Doubt, her first album, all that shit was recorded when she was like 15, 16, 17. Released when she was 17. So, it is what it is. She was definitely not 18-year-old, even when these records were released. She was 17-year-old when these records were released, and they were recorded when she was like 15, 16, 17. So, again, that's the answer to when Foxy Brown was signed. They signed this teenage little girl and decided to overly sexualize her and write overly sexual records for her and to featured on them and to like do duets with her about sexual relationships. Weird. Now Daisy does address Foxy Brown in these allegations on a song called Picasso Baby on the Magna Carta Holy Grail album, where he says he never stuck his cock in the fox's box, but opened up Pandora's box, whatever that means. But he's clearly saying he never had any sexual relations with that young lady. So there you go. Foxy has gone on to, for the most part, deny these accusations, or at least deny signing an NDA, and is mostly, it seems, being loyal to Jay-Z, even though there is a song out there that is kind of hard to find, but it's a song called, I believe, Let Him Know by Foxy Brown, where it seems like she's saying that she was messing around with Jay-Z. It seems like in the lyrics she's denying fucking around with Nas and AZ, but in reality she's messing with Jay-Z or whatever. That's what that's what it sounds like she's saying, and that's how people interpret her lyrics. So it's it's really hard to tell. Again, Foxy Brown, from what I can tell, is not like a mentally stable person. There's it's all to your discretion whether or not you believe her words or you don't believe her words. It is what it is. My personal opinion. Do I think Jay-Z was on some weirdo type shit? 100%. If you're sitting here signing a 15-year-old, and then when she's 16, you're making her record these overly sexual records, and you're trying to make her into like the next Lil Kim or whatever, it's kind of weird. Foxy Brown is, I consider, rather iconic cultural figure within hip hop, thanks to, I guess, Jay Z. So it's, the situation is kind of weird, and it is something that you can't really blame people for looking at Jay Z kind of weird. We may never know the truth, but hey, all this shit stacks together. Now it's time to discuss his relationship with his current wife, Beyonce. Jay Z and Beyonce are probably one of the most notable power couples to ever exist. And, their relationship is kind of weird. There's a lot of mystery behind it. The official narrative is that they met in like 1991 or 2000s, right when Beyonce happens to be an adult. Because if Jay-Z had met Beyonce when she was like 16, 15, 17, people nowadays might find that a little weird. That you're dating this, woman who's a little over a decade younger than you, and you happen to meet her when she was a minor, and you're both in the music industry. Like, a lot of red flags there. So the official narrative is that they met in 1999. Why this year specifically? Because it just happens to be the year that Beyonce happens to be 18. Simple as that. There's no real confirmation on when they actually met. Most people believe they met when she was 16 and he was 27. But again, I just spent like a good few minutes arguing with ChatGPT, even though there's no real way for any concrete evidence that they met in 1999, but that for some reason is the official narrative that people are spinning. You listen to Jay-Z, Jay-Z doesn't even really know when they met. He's never sat there and said, "Oh, we met in 1999." If you sit there and you listen to Jay-Z talk about it, he says they met when she first started recording, like a long time ago. I think he used the exact words 10 years ago or something. I don't know.
He has a deal there, and I know her. So,
how long have you known her?
Wow, a long time.
How long? 10 years?
However long she's been recording. That's when I met her.
Well, don't you remember how long it was?
Yeah, when I met her. I mean,
was it 5 years ago? Was it?
I met her 10 years ago.
Did you say to yourself at that time, "Wow"?
I said, yeah, that's a fantastic talent.
Hi, my name is Beyonce. Beyonce Giselle Knowles. I'm 16 years old. I just turned 16 about 4 or 5 days ago. My birthday is September 4th, 1981.
So again, why we push this 1999 timeline is beyond me. And it's like, we all know Jay-Z isn't above. He's not above, like, hanging around with a 15-year-old. We all know this. He again, we just did the Foxy Brown segment. He signed a 15-year-old. This nigga didn't want to sign Kanye West, but he went to sign Foxy Brown. Let that sink in. Okay, I'm not trying to sit there and say anything for certain, but it's like, why are we so, why is like the internet and the official narrative so certain, or trying to convince us that they met when she was 18? Like, let's keep it a bean. Like, Jay-Z probably met Beyonce when she was 16. And even that might be being generous. It is what it is. Okay, next woman we're going to talk about is Aaliyah. This is where things get really, really just kind of dark. So Aaliyah, as we all know, she was in a relationship at 14 or 15 with Robert Kelly, R. Kelly. R. Kelly would go on to, do an album, a collaborative album with Jay-Z, and go on tour with Jay-Z. Now, Jay-Z had a business partner by the name of Dame Dash. Dame Dash, at the time of, I think, year 2000, was in a relationship with Aaliyah. Now, according to Dame Dash, he had a lot of issues regarding, this collaborative effort with R. Kelly because he knew about what R. Kelly did to Aaliyah. Now, at a certain point, the whole marriage between R. Kelly and Aaliyah was speculative or rumor, even though they had, I think at the time, like a whole marriage certificate or whatnot, or a divorce certificate, so I don't know. But for some reason, we kind of brushed it aside, just kind of like we brush the fact that Jay-Z probably met Beyonce when she was younger, but whatever. So Dame had an issue with this, and he brought it to Jay-Z at some point, and Jay-Z just didn't really care. Another thing is that Jay-Z apparently was a romantic rival to Dame Dash when it came to Aaliyah. He was romantically interested in Aaliyah and was pursuing her from 1999 to 2000, which is an interesting timeline because that's the same timeline where they say that Beyonce and Jay-Z first met, weirdly enough. Even though I believe that they met before that, but that's the timeline they give us, so that's interesting. We know afterwards, after Aaliyah's death, Jay-Z will go on to, date Beyonce and whatnot. But again, so this tells you a few things, right? It tells you that Jay-Z knew about R. Kelly's weird relationship with Aaliyah and didn't really care. And Jay-Z also really never really addressed or cared too much about the whole, I'll just call it Pissgate in regards to R. Kelly. So again, it's kind of a weird situation. You get into a lot of more conspiracy theories in regards to Aaliyah's death and, Jay-Z being a part of it to propel Beyonce to more heights because Aaliyah didn't want him or whatever. I don't know if I believe any of that, but it's a conspiracy theory that's out there. So, you can do your own little research on that. Real quick, let's talk about his relationship with Rihanna. Now, this one is probably like the least, there's nothing really substantial I can really say about any of this. This is very, just very conspiracy theory brain, but whatever. We're going to get into his relationship with Rihanna. Rihanna was discovered in 2003, and then she auditioned for Jay-Z, who was running at the time in 2005 was running Def Jam Records. So Rihanna was auditioning for Jay-Z, and Jay-Z obviously signed her. Now, you kind of see kind of a pattern there. Jay-Z definitely has a type with, who he likes to sign. You know what I'm saying? He definitely has a type in general. Foxy Brown, hell yeah. Beyonce, hell yeah. Rihanna, hell yeah. Kanye West, hell nah. Get this nigga the fuck up out of here. And Dame Dash had to beg Jay-Z to sign that nigga, bro. Did not want to sign Kanye. Nigga, just make the beats and get up out of here. Dame Dash in here, bro, he got this record. He got this record called Jesus Walks. It's a hit. I'm telling you. Jay-Z man, nigga, we don't even mess with Jesus over here, bro. What are you talking about, Jesus Walks? That shit offended. That offended Jay-Z. You over here talking about some Jesus? Nigga, you talking about some getting saved? You talking about walking with the Lord? Boy, we don't get up out of here with that. We don't rock with that over here. So yeah, Jay-Z clearly has a type. Now, when you get to the more conspiratorial side of his relationship with Rihanna, there's a lot of people, specific popular individual on the internet, Jaguar Wright, who pretty much accuses Jay-Z of being in a sexual relationship with a young Rihanna, and also blames Jay-Z for pretty much, the whole or being at the root of the whole, Chris Brown Rihanna incident and whatnot. There's a lot of people who sit there and say that or allege that Jay-Z wasn't very happy with, Rihanna and Chris Brown's relationship and whatnot. So there you go. There's some people who say Jay-Z was jealous. It is what it is. You got some people who say Rihanna and Beyonce, that's why they never really got along or did records together. Again, all that's conspiracy, allegedly. There's really nothing for me to substantiate any of these claims with. But I just thought it'd be interesting to throw out there because to me it's just kind of funny. It's kind of funny how quick Jay-Z is to sign these younger women. I mean, to a certain degree though, in Jay-Z's defense, like Rihanna, that was a once in a lifetime talent. She went on to become one of the biggest pop stars of her era. So hey, but it is funny to me. It's also funny like this video where Rihanna is recalling Jay-Z again. Rihanna was 16 during her audition, pretty much telling her that she either has to leave the building. She wants to leave the building. She practically has to sign the deal. And if she doesn't, she's leaving out the window, and they're on like the 29th floor.
So tell me about your audition with Jay-Z. Tell me what he said to you.
A really good audition.
Yes.
But before I met him, I was so nervous. I was shaking literally. But the moment I walked into the office, the atmosphere was so warm and welcoming.
And you had to sing a cappella for him?
Yes, I had to sing. I sang Pon de Replay. I sang another ballad from the album last time.
Yeah. So then what did he say to you? He said something to you.
Oh, yes. He said, we don't sign songs here. We sign artists. And there was this little pause, and I was nervous. But then he said, and we're interested. And there was this sudden feel of relief.
But then he said something about a window and a door or something.
Oh, then he said, he did it homework.
I did a lot of homework on you, this lady.
He said, there are two ways to leave here, either through the door with the deal signed or through this window, and we're on the 29th floor.
So you was like, where's the pen? Here's the paper. I'm signing.
Yeah.
Again, this is presented as like a joke, but it's like it seems no one really found the joke funny or even understands where the joke part is. It pretty much just seems like Jay-Z was threatening her to sign the deal. So, but hey, that's that. Now to get on to Diddy. In 2024, Diddy's house was raided and he will later on be arrested for trafficking amongst other crimes. Now, when people heard this, again, like I said in the beginning of the video, a lot of people start looking towards Jay-Z. Why? Because they're very good friends. I know nowadays we like to rewrite history and act like they weren't that good friends, but they're very good friends. And they have a lot of similarities. Both very powerful black men, with very powerful connections within the industry. Businessmen. They got their liquor deals, clothing deals. Label owners. Bad Boys, and then you got Rockefeller. All this kind of stuff. Very similar people. They even have the same name, nigga. They both named Sean. Just spelled different. Pretty much they're the same person, just spelled different. So naturally, people look at them. They look towards Jay-Z a little weird after Sean Combs gets caught up, especially when Jay-Z was definitely at them parties. He's definitely at them parties. So it's like, nigga, you at the freak offs. You had to have seen something. You had to participate. It's again, all this stuff stacks up. It really does stack up. But where it gets worse is his relationship with Harvey Weinstein, which most people haven't really dug into. Like, nigga, I really didn't even understand they were that close, because like I said in the beginning of the video, I didn't even know Jay-Z was into media like that, into trying to get into the filming industry or whatnot. Apparently he was. But again, when Jay-Z was mentioned in the Epstein files, you had a lot of people, whether it be Charlemagne, fat ass Lizzo, come out and defend him, saying, hey, it doesn't make any sense, this idea that Jay-Z in 1996 was sitting there hanging around Harvey Weinstein. Which again is stupid, especially for like someone like Charlemagne to say, because if you're someone my age, again, someone who was a baby when Jay-Z's first album dropped or wasn't even born, again, you're probably not going to understand this, but Jay-Z had a career before 1996. Like, this nigga wasn't just some bum, and then he dropped his album and now he has success or something. Like, this nigga had business ventures prior to 1996. Like, this nigga had a rap career before 1996. It's just we don't really talk about it. This nigga formed his Rockefeller label in 1994. Now you tell me, who does just anybody get to form their own record label in 1990, the year 1994, just anybody's forming, their record labels. Like, you have to have some type of connections, money, something to do that. So obviously, and we all know about, I don't want to get too much into the Jaz-O situation, and but Jay-Z didn't just start rapping in 1996. Like, he's been doing this. Like, he's been somebody, and Charlamagne knows that. But regardless, like, to sit there and let's say that he did just started popping off in 1996. Maybe Harvey Weinstein saw some promise in him. But again, and then also, Jay-Z was partying. I think you can confirm. I don't want to sit there and say this with 100% guarantee, but I think 100% guarantee. But I think it's pretty much confirmed that Jay-Z was partying with Diddy and Harvey Weinstein in 1998. So to sit there and say it's the ideal that he was acquaintances with Harvey Weinstein in 1996 is kind of just, it's not out of the realm of possibility. So moving on though, you have Harvey Weinstein, Diddy at one party. That alone is pretty damning. And then, you had Jay-Z going on to try to get into business with Harvey Weinstein. Apparently Jay-Z was a part of the that Black Annie movie with the Jamie Foxx that was dumb as hell. But I'm sure a lot of people remember that. I guess that was Jay-Z had involvement in that. And Jay-Z had the rights to Trayvon Martin's story, because of course he did. That sounds like something Jay-Z would do. And, he's going to work on that with Harvey Weinstein. But then Harvey Weinstein got exposed as a weirdo. He got exposed as taking advantage of a lotto and blah, blah, blah. We know what happened. We all know the Me Too era, So, and again, like I said, one thing I'll say about Harvey Weinstein is everybody in the industry knew what Harvey Weinstein was on. Like, it was a joke to him, what he would do, the whole casting couch shit. It was a joke. So this idea that Jay-Z didn't know, I can go ahead and sit there and say that he 100% knew. Everyone in the industry had to, or not had to have known, they did know. They made jokes about it. They knew, obviously, about Harvey Weinstein and the type of shit he was on. So that alone tells you a lot about Jay-Z's character. But again, there's some people who argue like Jay-Z's just a businessman. He's cutthroat. We've seen how he moved with the NFL and Colin Kaepernick. Fine. But again, being a cutthroat businessman doesn't, excuse his poor behavior and doing questionable things. And all that stuff adds up. Again, I also want to point this out to some people that want to defend Jay-Z. Jay-Z wasn't like no green ass nigga when he came in the industry. Like, this nigga was like touching 30 when he started popping off. This nigga sitting here, people like to sit here and act like, pretend like this nigga was a lot younger when his first album came out. Like, it just wasn't the case. By the time he dropped his first album, he was already like 27 or something. Like, and you gotta understand, because Jay-Z's the type of individual who sit there be like, now that he's like in his 60s, be like, I regret recording Big Pimpin' or whatnot. And then all his fans will be like, damn, Jay-Z's really growing. Like, how y'all gonna be mad at him for growing as a human being? Like, nigga was 30 when he recorded Big Pimpin'. It's like, y'all niggas don't get that shit. The nigga was like, let's start with his fake growth nonsense of him becoming a better person, or this idea that Beyonce made him a better person, or this and that. All of this is fake at the end of the day. Like, you were 30 when you made that record. Like, what age did it click for Jay-Z? Was it when you were 40? Was it when you were 50? Like, I'm sure you can find actually, let me look up the last time Jay-Z performed Big Pimpin'. I'm guessing the last time he performed it was in the Watch the Throne era in 2011. So there you go. Nigga was 40 or 41 when he was still performing Big Pimpin'. And I guess afterwards he came to this realization that oh, maybe I shouldn't objectify women like this or whatever dumb shit. Again, it's so performative. It's so like there's nothing real about Jay-Z. That's what makes it even harder to defend this individual. There's nothing real about him. There's nothing authentic about him. He did during the Diddy stuff get sued for, SA, would you say SA? And he did, that case ended up getting dismissed, in Jay-Z's fairness, because it seemed like there was a lot of inconsistencies within the story. But again, all that stuff kind of adds up, and appearing in the Epstein files definitely doesn't help. Like, you definitely don't want to appear in the Epstein files, especially if you're being accused of drugging and doing other stuff to women, along with Harvey Weinstein, one third of the members of the unholy trinity. But that's I don't want to sit again. A lot of this is hearsay, is conspiracy theory, even though a lot of conspiracy theories have been starting to come true. But that's what it is. A lot of this is conspiracy theory. Some of this is verifiable fact. But hey, that's all I really got to say on it. Like the video, leave a comment, let me know what you think.